Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and the topic of the day is roster changes. Two teams bowed out of the Stage 2 Major last night in the Paris Legion and the Los Angeles Guerrillas, two teams that may well consider roster changes over these coming days and weeks. But the teams that beat them, especially the Los Angeles Thieves, have made many changes over these past couple of weeks. Should they be allowed to do so? Should we be going back to a roster change period situation we used to have back in the day? Scump and Formal certainly seem to think so. Intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, just thought I'd mention this. YouTube Gaming do this whole Call of Duty Gauntlet thing that we've seen many times in the whole Twitter sphere. And it was actually Modern Warfare that actually lost to Black Ops Cold War, can you believe it? I'm sure the competitive Call of Duty community was somewhat involved in this, well, in this tweet. Only 34,000 votes at the end of the day, but still pretty interesting to see. This I thought was also pretty cool. So yesterday on the, 7th of April, it would have been Freako, Impact, Parasite, Killer, Miracles, and Karma way back in 2013 won the first ever, the inaugural Call of Duty World Championship, where things already, this is where they kind of kick-started for competitive Call of Duty. And a few years after that, back in 2015, on the same day, Zuma and Enable joined the FaZe clan team, a pretty legendary lineup as well. They competed with OpTic, of course, for plenty of time, especially throughout Advanced Warfare. And I just thought I'd mention this because there was a really cool tweet from Formal that he says right here back in 2016, which could have, this could have had so many implications for how the Call of Duty scene looks today, right? Because Formal was kind of team hopping back then, 2014, 2015, trying to get in the best spot possible. Who could really blame him? Ends up, of course, on OpTic and the OpTic dynasty throughout, the Advanced Warfare Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare seasons, culminating in the World Championship win in 2017. But so, as he says right here, I wanted to join FaZe back in 2016 because their names were Zuma, Attach, Enable, and would have been Formal. Then our names would have spelt FaZe. We would have just had to have been godlike. There's no way any team would have been touching us with names like this. So who knows? Imagine if that had happened. The history that Call of Duty would have had as a result, I'm sure, would have been very different indeed. All because of, Formal thought the names would have been pretty cool. That's actually a good point. There's no way this team wouldn't have absolutely dominated. So the main topic I wanted to dive into is some of these roster changes which may be happening over the coming days, right? Because Paris bow out of the tournament. The big question mark is around Fire, right? Obviously, he's had a tough time in this team, at least statistically. And, he's been using an AR early on to some great effect. But then in the respawns, he's really been kind of struggling. His search has been pretty solid, to be honest. Fire, at least in the statistical standpoint. But, he did some tweets last night. There were some tweets kind of calling out his performance. And, it's not easy to see that, certainly as a rookie, when there's so many other rookies that have come in and just absolutely dominated, right? And as Parasite says, who's teamed with Fire for a long time, people giving Fire a hard time need to get a grip. He might not have performed as well as he had hoped, but, he's still an amazing talent. Coming together with this ragtag squad, Paris crafted at the beginning was always going to be difficult. I've heard people say that when he hops into like 8s and other matches like this, where there's no pressure on and he doesn't necessarily get in his own head, then he's absolutely dominating. But obviously playing for Paris, it wasn't working out ideally for them. So there are question marks. What changes are they potentially going to make? Of course, this is after the major, so it's a type of time you would expect to be making roster changes, but there's some teams, obviously, that have made many changes before the end of the stages come around, because nowadays you're allowed to do so. You can make changes whenever you want, but as Parasite goes on to say, for a rookie like him, he did alright, but I guarantee his performance or inconsistency is rooted in a pressure and confidence point. He's a young kid in an environment unlike anything he has ever experienced before. And this, the whole way he phrases it, right, like he did alright, makes it sound to me that Parasite probably thinks he's out the team and he's not going to be returning to it anytime soon. And obviously some rookies thrown into this situation have thrived. Standy, of course, on the Minnesota Rokkr. Others have had, pretty up and down performances, I suppose. Relatively inconsistent, but, some have certainly shown to be very solid indeed. Standy is, at the top of the front running. Neptune, of course, has been very good as well. Insight has shown some good signs of life as well. Diamond Cod does definitely deserve some mention over the New York Subliners team, and I'm sure there's some other ones I'm missing right here. But Waskin said on the flank last night, this was before I hopped on for a special guest appearance. I thank to Zuma for having me on if you guys were watching later in the show. But, Waskin was saying right here, that this Paris Legion team, he's pretty confident. Of course, he's the twin brother of Scraps on this lineup, and, Waskin team's very confident indeed. They are going to be making a change for, you would imagine for Fire. The rumour has it right now that it's potentially Saints coming into this team. At least that was the going rumour a week or so ago. Of course, team were classic for a long time, so that might make sense in terms of the role dynamics. Get another, proper SMG into the team, and that may, of course, shake things up in the challenger scene, which seems to happen every other day anyway.
There's a lot that they can do. I don't know if they're going to do it. Are they going to do it? Or are they just, they're going to do it? You think they're going to do it?
Yeah, they're going to do it.
I just heard.
We can't see it anymore.
Well, Wool's over here. He's stressing, bro. Wool's stressing.
I can tell you that for a fact they're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, hot take live on the flank, ladies and gentlemen. Paris, we might be seeing a roster change, man.
So clearly from a statistical perspective, it wasn't great. I mean, Fire had another rough series yesterday. I think the first series where they swapped the roles with Scraps on the SMG and Fire on the AR again, like it really worked out for them. And Scraps, like despite flip-flopping between these roles every day, like he's putting up great numbers. But yeah, Fire just couldn't really come to play yesterday as he would have liked to. And well, that is a potential change that we do see. But the OpTic guys yesterday suggesting that maybe it shouldn't be so easy for these teams to make as many roster changes as they have done. Especially you look at a team like Los Angeles Thieves, the fact that they've already made like 4 roster changes this entire season already. You've got a team like the Minnesota Rokkr, they were 0-2 in their stage. They make the change, they take out Maniac, they bring in Standy, and they turn it around to go 3-2. And the OpTic guys are probably sitting there thinking, well, hang on a second, like this team's just made a roster change in the middle of the stage right before they played us. The honeymoon period comes in, they beat us 3-0, and well, maybe that shouldn't be allowed, right? Now, of course, from my perspective, it's more content, right? If people can make changes all the time. So I'm probably biased on the matter, but the players, of course, are probably looking like back in the day a few years ago where there used to be like 2, 3, 4 roster change periods in the season. You'd get like a week and a half or something to make roster changes that you wanted to make, and you had to wait out that period until you actually could make some sort of change, and then you have to see exactly what you can do from there. Right now, you can basically swap people out on a whim, maybe more like traditional sports, and well, does that have its positives? Does that have its negatives? I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below.
Which part? I don't think it should be allowed during a stage. I think it should be they have to play with that team the rest of the stage. Unless it's like
that's actually not a bad idea.
Unless it's like obviously an emergency or a health thing, you know, it's like family emergency.
Why? You should be able to make swaps like that.
You should be able to just switch someone in mid-major. They're about to go into the major with a different team than they played the whole stage with.
Yeah, but is that a team decision or is that a coach decision?
It's like the NBA going into the playoffs and then some team picks up Kevin Durant.
Like, in the middle of the playoffs.
It's like, huh?
Like they just played their league matches, which don't matter.
That actually is a really good point, Seth. That's a good point.
Yeah, and then they just be like, oh, we're playing the major with a different team. Like that's so.
They could have a completely new roster with the way it's set up right now.
Yeah.
They could have 4 brand new players. Like what? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh man,
you should have to stick with your team for at least
the stage. It's only a month long. Like you can do that. You can pull through.
It's 5 league matches and then potentially like one tournament match if you get knocked out in losers.
They had to do something.
I mean, yeah,
but how it's always been is roster change periods.
Do it.
Yeah, there's
like
always
Minnesota. They just did it mid-stage. They were 0-2 and now they got first seed.
Like that's crazy. I don't know.
So this is what Los Angeles Thieves have done so far this season. At the Kickoff Classic, Kenny, TJ, Slasher, and Temp, of course. Then, Stage 2 at Week 1, they swap out for Venom, comes in for Temp. Then Temp even came back in because Kenny had the illness. And now Slasher's gone, Drazah's in, and this is the team they're running for the Major. And it does seem somewhat surprising, or maybe not exactly surprising, but it's kind of strange in a way that they can just come in from the final week of Stage 2, and then into the Major, they just completely switch up their lineup. And not obviously a complete switch, but if they wanted to, as Form was kind of getting at, they could just change up their entire team. If they wanted to drop their entire lineup and sign some new players, technically they could do that right before the stage. So it's kind of strange. Maybe you could argue that, all right, well, the stage is only a month. You just have to have the same team for that stage. I think like substitutions, those should be okay. It's maybe the question mark is whether you should just be able to sign someone like Venom, for example, because I mean, you've got a 5-man lineup, 4 of them are on the starting team, 1 of them is on the bench. Like surely you should be allowed to substitute in that player. That's kind of why they're a substitute if you want to for that stage. But maybe the idea that, okay, you can just sign Venom or whoever in the middle of the stage whenever you want, or just pick up any old players, then maybe that's something which should be looked at. But at the same time, the opportunity is available to anyone if they want to make these decisions. So, well, I think it makes for more entertaining situation, to be honest, with all these roster changes coming in all the time. But, well, some teams may definitely consider. I think a lot of teams are probably looking at it from the perspective of, like, we'll give this team the stage, and then we'll make decisions after that when we have some time to regain and regroup. But Los Angeles Thieves in the interesting spot that they were woefully bad, and also they want to compete for championships, right? So you have to make a lot of changes if you're Thieves to actually make that dream a reality. Whereas, well, if you're the Paris Legion, you can be like, okay, well, we're never going to compete for championships anyway. Let's just leave it to the end of the stage, see what happens there at the Major, and then, well, just in case we make some sort of run, and then, well, as they haven't done, of course, now we pull the trigger on some sort of change, and maybe Los Angeles Grillers will find themselves in a similar boat. I do wonder what will happen with those two teams over the coming days. As I said, rumours flying all over the shop, and as you see, Thieves make a starting roster change straight straight before the Stage 2 Major. It's a question mark as to whether they should be allowed to do so, but roster changes is content at the end of the day. Speaking of the OpTic guys, they do play later today up against the Toronto Ultra. We'll look at the matches and the schedule for the day right at the end of the video in a couple of minutes time here. Wanted to mention this as well, given we were on the topic of roster changes, as Mork says, cannot believe Colt Havoc, of course, on the Florida Mutineers team last season alongside Morks for a time, helped win 3 events last year and hasn't got to play it once this year. Mind-blowing, if you ask me. One of the best Sorg players in Black Ops 4 as well. And Sean says this on the Reddit as well, this being Morks as well. Tom and, Tom here referring to Tom Ogre 2, the general manager of that squad. I liked him, but he's never involved in making roster decisions. He let me down hard last year as a general manager. The decisions have always been made by the players or Ricky Achura, the coach. When I got dropped last year, I called Ogre 2 and I was like, what's going on? I don't feel like I should be getting dropped when it's strictly not my sole fault we're getting destroyed. He said to me, you're right, we're going to have a team talk. The next day I get a text to say, sorry Chance, that being Morks again. Team is really adamant on making the change, Awakening coming in. So, you know, we won't be talking with the team. You can hop in a call with Achura if you want. And effectively just kind of talking about how, Tom Ogre 2 isn't necessarily the greatest general manager over there. And maybe this decision that Neptune comes in for Havoc was, you could argue it was slightly premature. At the same time, Neptune has been pretty damn good. But it does feel kind of bad for Havoc sitting here on the bench with, some of the other teams kind of struggling. He might be a great fit for someone, but, he's kind of sitting there on the bench, biding his time to try and get a spot once again, maybe in this Florida lineup at some point in the future. A few incredible things to finish off the video as well. This comes out from Parasite yesterday. You guys might know that Envoy has his headset on backwards. I have no idea how he even started doing this. I think he maybe did it by accident back in the day. And nowadays he just plays with his headset on backwards. And his brain manages to flip the sound when he's got his headset on. But in real life he's perfectly normal. But supposedly Drazah does this as well. So there's now 2 players in the league out of 48 that have their headsets on backwards. As Envoy says, no way. Unless I'm faded, I'm pretty sure he does. Yeah, I do. That is the play. So maybe you guys should give it a go. This is the ultimate solution to be nasty at Call of Duty, apparently. This I thought was funny as well from Cellium. A couple of clips coming out like this. Cellium somehow just bounces over this thing right here. I forget which game this used to happen in quite often, but it's kind of like a jetpack, outside of a jetpack title. And it happens to a Seam as well, actually, a couple of months ago. He tweets out, this happened to me 4 months ago, and I've yet to figure out how it's even possible. How does Clay not notice this? This clip's kind of funny, because Clay's is just super focused on his gunfight. Seam just bounces up in front of him, and Seam's turning around yo, Clay, did you see that? And Clay's just focusing on winning this gunfight up here in top green. But this is the bracket right now. So, of course, in the losers side, Mutineers and Thieves won out yesterday. 2 matches will be going on the losers bracket, that being Seattle Surge Mutineers and Royal Ravens versus the Thieves. 2 of those teams, of course, will bow out once again. And on the winners side, OpTic play Ultra, New York Subliners play up against the Dallas Empire, and this is the schedule. So Subliners Empire, I think that's going to be a banger, to be honest. That is first up. I'd be surprised, honestly, if it doesn't find its way all the way to a Game 5. And then, some really interesting matchups as well. OpTic versus Ultra, the winner of that will play FaZe. OpTic certainly want to get through this to have a chance to take down FaZe and make that winners bracket run. And will we see a continuation of the great form showed by the Thieves and the Florida Mutineers last night? Intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out YouTube algorithm to know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well. And I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care. And I will see you next time.
Is it elbow right now?
Oh, it sounded like you didn't know.
One ammo to Tetris cross, ammo to Tetris cross. I need a double, I need a double.
What was that?